Hey team, how are we going? It is Kaz here. Josh, I see you're here as well. Tonight's going to be interesting. Tonight's going to be talking about relative subjects, leadership when it's used correctly, okay, as a deterrent before the fact, so to speak. Rules of engagement, something I've done a lot of during my life, actually at least probably half my career, or all my career, but half my life. And I seem to consider myself a little bit of an expert at rules of engagement, But you also should be as well, because a lot of it goes off a gut feel reaction. So we'll just wait for some people to come on now. Geez, Kaz, things are looking out of control. They're about to be very much in control. So let us know how we're going for sound, how we're going for image. There's not much I can do about my head. If you're not from around the channel before, make sure you subscribe so that you can talk in the comments area. And we'll get into what we're talking about tonight. And it's basically wrapped around a lot of subjects where you can also be the wind in your own sails and be able to communicate and say, hey, what's going on in Iran with the bombing there? What do you think about what's happening with the Ukraine, with the developments there? How come Xi Jinping doesn't seem to be in power anymore? There's a whole bunch of different things. What do you think is going to be the major stocks that are going to be the things to watch? I can tell you right now, it's Bitcoin and Tesla. They're my two big ones that I'll be looking at. I've got nothing in Tesla. I've got some in Bitcoin. And the only reason I think it's going to happen is because why wouldn't it? It would have been canned by now if it was going to be. Matty, g'day mate, how you going? We've got the Lanky Wanderer. Great message from you yesterday. Look forward to chatting to you hopefully this weekend. We've got Dale, Kaz the Guru. I'm actually not an expert at anything, to tell you the truth, except what the ladies know about me. While we're waiting, let's have a look at this, because this is never going to get old, and maybe it's going to be on the footy show coming up soon for potentially one of the impromptu tackles of the year without any, what would we say, risk assessment conducted. I'll just make myself a little bit smaller here. Can't get the ladies too excited. Okay. How are we looking? How are we going? All right. Let's have a look at this, because we can replay this 100 times. It's bloody entertaining, and I don't think it's ever going to get old. And this guy, this is not what he wants on his Instagram reel, I can tell you. This Pablo Amigo, he'll be heading home for some salsa and a siesta after this one. Good Samaritan. Man. Didn't expect it. There is no one that could ever feel sorry for this piece of shit, because I'm telling you now, look what he does. He gets in the way of the police. He knows that he's using their rules of engagement against them, using their discipline against them, but it backfires. When the Good Samaritan, someone's had enough. Maybe someone watched a bit too much TV. Someone got sick of this guy's inability to throw dance moves. Right? So watch what happens with the lead up and what he does to the police officer to deserve this ass kicking.
Whoa! Stop!
Hold your head up.
Jesus, you just hit me! I just got hit with the left vehicle.
Who cares? Don't stand near a bloody riot. Okay, so bystander has body slammed a protester after they threw a can at police officer during the ongoing riots in Los Angeles. Okay, lawless California. MC, g'day mate, how you going? Good to have you here. We're going to be talking about rules of engagement tonight. I've had plenty of experience at it. I consider myself a bit of an expert, to tell you the truth, so I can answer any questions that you may have on rights and wrong. And what we're going to have tonight is the actual speech. Let us know thumbs up or thumbs down based on, have you seen the Florida sheriff's warning to agitators should they come and decide to FAFO, fuck around and find out, if they come to Florida. And he's talking about using lethal force, and he's giving permission for civilians to use lethal force on these people as well. Now, Wayne Ivey is the sheriff of Brevard County. Now, Florida seems to have grown them well. You know, a bit of cornbread down there, you know, eating the fat and the gristle on the steak, Coca-Cola drinkers no less. You know, these guys don't muck around. And this is what you do as a commander in the military. You let people know right from the bat, this is what it's going to be, this is the rules, you've got 100 points. So at the moment, you've got no one to cry for me, Argentina, if you've been told what the rules are and then you still go and break them. Is there anyone, what do you reckon about it, Kaz? Well, that's what I'm about to ask you, Mr. Dale. Is there anyone that could possibly side on the side of illegal immigrants? None of this is about immigration. All of this is about illegal immigration. Every single person should be against this. It clogs up schools. It takes resources. There's no advantages. Imagine someone without a social security number, you know, being in your country, who's not part of any fingerprint lab analysis for the police force, who's not on any records, no DNA database, nothing, performs a crime, gets away, they basically don't exist. So no matter what you do, no matter what you say, if they get out of town, it didn't happen. You can't afford for that to happen. You know, they're taking the jobs off people. This is illegal. This is actual slavery. Because if you go for a job at a place and you need that ward wage, especially in California and the blue states that have a state tax as well as a federal tax, what's occurring is they can't afford to give you a job, any of you. So what they do is under the table give a discounted, unfair amount of money to someone who lives in that same community who skipped across the border illegally and then pays them a portion with none of the benefits that come with having that job. So they're exploiting these people while pretending to be the nice guy. They are not the nice guy. They are exploiting these people more than anyone. They're not upset that you're getting rid of Maria or that you're getting rid of Raul or Jesus. They're angry that you're getting rid of their illegal workforce. So that now you're going to have to start paying the going rate, the award wages, for those that are your citizens. Yep. Not to mention the fentanyl. Not to mention the human trafficking. Not to mention the cartel influence. If you don't think a lot of this is being paid for, man, you need to open your eyes. This is getting paid for by Black Lives Matter, I believe, is getting paid for by the Social Society. The Social Society, I believe, is getting paid for by cartels. I believe it's getting paid for in some way by the Democrat Party. Hayden Jones, g'day Haydo, how you going, mate? Dwayne, good to speak to you just before we get on here. He's feeling a bit rough at the moment. He keeps tearing stuff, but not his butt, which is good because he's not a sailor. MC says, g'day. Dale says, what do you reckon about it, Kaz? We'll talk about that tonight. The bull poopart. Hi, Kaz. I hope you're doing well. Recently applied for the army, but got class 4 medical unfit. I'm an autoimmune disease. I'm sorry about that, mate. And ultimately, I'll never be able to join. Feeling pretty devastated. Bully, is there any chance that you can still be allowed to go and serve in like the police force, federal, paramedics, fire brigade, etc.? You know, don't just give up, mate. There is a chance that there is something, a door that will open and give you a chance to be the best version of you, mate. You know, don't cut yourself off too early. You know, and, mate, there's no reason why we can't have a chat and try to skin a cat and get something organised for you to give you the best chance of picking your lip up and understanding that you would have been the perfect soldier. SAS, no less. You know, but they lost out on you, you know, and that's our loss. Mate, I am sorry for you, mate, because I couldn't imagine what it would feel like. How old are you, buddy? We've got Rexy, 40. G'day, Kaz. Peaceful means peaceful. Otherwise, it's fuck around, find out. Absolutely. Yep, peaceful. You know, the corruption that is happening with mainstream media in Australia, as well as the Western world and the USA, is an absolute disgrace. You know, they need to be able to take the handlebars back, and people need to be held accountable. And I believe by federal agencies, and that includes media. Dan, Rexy, lots of love. Bull, most officers have some kind of IBS. Maybe try as an officer. There you go. Irritable bowel syndrome. I've got Crohn's disease, mate. It really sucks. The last 2 days, you know, I've sat higher in my chair, so to speak, or feigned having a bad leg injury in the street. Well, I've actually got some of the brown stuff coming down. All right, for those who didn't see it, this is a good Samaritan giving someone the tackle of the year in Los Angeles. You know, this street scumbag, you know, probably works for Gomez. Let's see what happens to him. I've never understood that cerebral palsy gang symbols. It makes you look like a dickhead. Here we go. Let's have Oh! Again. Gotta love it. Wally Lewis would love that. All right. And then he probably goes home and cries and says that, you know, they was lucky there were so many of them, or he would have taken them out, I don't doubt. Let's look at the next one. So this is what it's all about tonight, and then what we're going to go into is Kaz's recommendations for ICE, you know, and for federal agents in the USA, and for the maybe even Dan Bongino with the FBI that they could put in to really hammer this one home. I thought that white shirt guy was undercover. He might have been. He may well have been. Let's have a look at this. So this is the man, the moment, Wayne Ivey, and he is the sheriff of, which is an elected position, of Brevard County. Man, look at the amount of seniority he's got on his arm. Like, he's a little bit thick in the midsection, but if he's been a cop for 40 years, maybe you're going to expect that. And maybe even had an extension beyond 40 years service for his area. Did you know that about a week ago, one of the Florida sheriffs, not him, you know, actually has been indicted and arrested in his uniform, disarmed, for, I believe it's racketeering, where he got caught running his own casino. So this guy's in the hot seat and he's coming out with a bang. Shit there. G'day, Lightfoot. How you going, mate? You know, how's your 7 days on, 7 days off going? We're going to have a look at what this guy's got to say. I love it. I want to hear what you've got to say. The Hodge twins absolutely loved it. I reckon we need this in Australia too.
Peaceful protests are part of our democracy. We invite people to share their opinions. That's what our country is all about. The key word in that is peaceful. And if it's peaceful, us in law enforcement are going to make sure you have a safe environment to do it in. That's part of that process. If you let it turn violent, whoo, you do not want to do that in Brevard County. I'm going to tell you that, and I believe I can speak for my fellow sheriffs around the rest of the state. You don't want to let it happen. And just so there's no confusion, because I don't want to hear any whining.
What he's about to say, he doesn't want to hear any whining after you fuck around and find out. This is why you get treated the way you do at Kapuka. Okay, it is so that you absolutely understand the rules. It's too late for me, pro rata, to come back and go, I wouldn't have wanted you to do that. So I let you know right from the start, the standing orders. This is the way it's going to be. If you mess around, this is what's going to happen. And that gets told you to the SOPs, standard operating procedures, but also your standing orders, the laws, basically, of the military judicial system, what's going to happen to you in the battalion area, what's going to happen to you in an operational forward operating base if you fall asleep on picket, if you negligently discharge your weapon system. You get told all of this in advance so you have no one to cry to when the shit hits the fan. Let's keep going. Sorry, Wayne. Sir.
Later saying we didn't know. I'm going to break it down for you. All right, because as you watch these riots unfold across the rest of the country,
These rioters are fucking traitors. They are traitors to their nation. And I believe some of them need lethal force used against them.
What you are seeing is buildings being burned down, police cars being bricked, having explosive devices thrown on them, having fire, guns pointed at them, bricks thrown at them, all and on. So I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital.
Let's go back there. He just gave permission for you, the civilian, to use lethal force against someone that you believe is barring your way with the intention of doing you harm with your family in the car, etc. It doesn't mean people on a jaywalk. It doesn't, on the zebra crossing. It doesn't mean you can run over the fucking Beatles. McCartney. Let's go back a little bit and listen to that one again, because that is about your rules of engagement. Remember, this is also an open carry state where people have weapons as well. I'll get to your comments in a second, team.
In our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here.
Yes.
If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at.
That cannot be said any more, better than that. He has made it quite clear. You will get flogged, if you spit. And there's plenty of these Mexicans spitting on cops and spitting on people too. Yeah, there is heaps of footage. Throwing bricks is a lethal weapon. If you went to throw a brick at me as a police officer, I would kill you out in the street. If you grab a knife and come towards me, especially in the 21-foot rule, I'm going to kill you. It just showed you some police on YouTube that just had a guy with a meat cleaver in Australia. 3 female officers took him down before the males turned up. And they're talking to him from 2 metres away. No one had a fucking gun out. They were useless. They were verbaling like he was a husband they were breaking up or had caught cheating or was going out on the piss. He could have turned around and killed all 3 of them before they had their weapon out. And people would have been saying, why didn't you shoot him? When in doubt, you got a blade in front of a cop, you're inside 21, one of yous should at least be, bam, straight on getting ready to go. Like that fantastic police officer, female police officer at the Bondi Junction. Take him down. Don't ask questions. Stop once, stop twice, stop 3 times. Lock and load, give him 17. That's what I reckon. What do you reckon? Cooper Struck. G'day, mate. That's a good name. PJ Place. Hey, Kaz, I passed my assessment day yesterday. That's fantastic. Thanks for all the knowledge and advice you've given us on this channel, mate. PJ, pleasure, mate. I'm still here. Team, if you're not on, the actual Patreon bat phone, you're crazy. I talk to people every day. Every conversation I have, I enjoy. Sometimes I shake my head, but I enjoy. Get on board, help yourself. In the description below is the link to Patreon. Bully, thanks, bro. Undiscovered, USA. Mustang Mac, is this for Trump's military parade? No. No, I believe this is in general. If it migrates, these protests across the southern US states, it's basically saying don't come and play games here. Love this dude, says Dwayne. Yep, it's about time, says Dale. No one could have said it better. It is about time. And this will now become the metric where other people say this is how you need to act. And as for the governor of California, he should be locked up because he's facilitating, this all happening inside his own backyard, not protecting the people that should be his very first priority. Gavin Newsom. I won't say the derogatory term they call him. I'd never call him, Gavin Newscum, as they like to say. But it was only a few months ago that they were pleading for federal assistance with the fires in California, and now they're illegally allowing people to set fires and even throw petrol bombs or pyrotechnics at police. Jennifer, g'day mate, how's it going up in Mackay, my friend? Cooper, in Parramatta, I saw that crazy. Yep, that should have been put down with force. Dan, seen that clip the entire time. I was like, dumb, whatever, gonna get my longsword outlawed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs. You're seeing ICE agents that are being targeted for doing their jobs. Yep. And you're seeing obstructionists that are doing all of this, standing in the way of law and order. Not here.
If you're an obstructionist, you are just as guilty as the people that are doing the crime. Just as guilty, white liberals. When you see people also that are employing these people, okay, that's going to come to my recommendations in a minute, but it should be jail and loss of premises if they find illegal immigrants in your employ. You are aiding and abetting financial slavery.
Not in the state of Florida. So to make it real simple, if you don't want to have any of those things happen to you, obey the law. Go protest all you want. Do it peacefully. Stand on the mountaintops and yell your opinion, your views. We invite that.
Right. Okay. So for those that don't know, what's happening is the ICE agency, the organisation has been going and clamping down on illegal immigration, human trafficking, only illegal immigration. Illegal. Every single one of them is a criminal. And they're getting them the hell out of the country. Now, there is somewhere between 20 and 30 million illegal immigrants that are sucking like locusts the resources of the USA and still got the balls to get up there with a Mexican flag in US soil, and burn a US flag while holding a Mexican flag. To me, that is war. That is, it doesn't make sense. I don't want to go home, but I will burn your flag while I'm here. That is confusing. So what Dan was talking about before, I believe, was the clip with the fella with the cleaver. Yeah, they're going to take our rubber bands next, as Ed Senior says. We've got Ed Junior here from the USA, who wears the uniform of 11 Bravo, scarecrow with a gun. Mate, all the best to you and your brothers. Stay safe, mate. However, I wanted to inform you that tomorrow, the 14th of this month, I will be driving in the parade in DC for the Army's 250th birthday. When is that? On the 14th of this month. That's tomorrow for us. Kaz, your lives are so underrated, man. I don't know what that means. So you're driving. You don't get to be in the fun and actually be walking around pretending you're Chinese. All the best. We're very, very proud of you. Can we get some thumbs up there for Ed Jr., who is Ed Senior? That's his son. Followed after his son. Chantel's the mum. Great people. They're our family here. Dan, there was a guy who got sent to El Salvador, and the left kept screaming about it. He was brought back to face child SA charges. Yeah, and he was also part of MS-13. You can't make this shit up. Undiscovered. God bless the USA. Absolutely. And look, for someone that's been to the US and also someone that's been with coalition forces on operations, I can tell you, be careful not to judge the USA disparagingly about things, because I believe the USA is 50 different countries. And there is one of those countries that will absolutely be perfect for the lifestyle that you want. And I can tell you, when it comes to courtesy, I actually quite often find the US are a lot friendlier than what Australians are, to tell you the truth. Yeah. And that is because they are a Christian-based nation, making you feel welcome until you show that you're not. Basically means you should be more, known. Oh, okay. Mate, honestly, Cooper, I think that I'm completely, what would you say, blacklisted by YouTube because of some of the views and the honesty that we have on this channel. The best thing you can do, guys, is either become a member, come to Patreon, or tick the like button, or write a comment. We're not going anywhere. I'm here forever. I'm going to be the longest going channel with the smallest amount of subscribers on YouTube. That's a record we can go for. We're doing pretty well so far. But our whole creation here is to be able to make a scaffolding for a conversation so that when you go to the water bubbler tomorrow on the weekend, netball, contact sport, so the feminists say, that you can actually have some views that aren't just yours, that can validate, that have been researched, that you can use and say, okay, that's what's going on. Bringing up the rear, that's a naval staying right there. Well said, Kaz. Salt of the earth, many Americans I've met over there. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Junior says, I got more work to do right now, but I figured I'd let you know in case you're on anywhere here, would be interested to watch. Oh, absolutely, we'll be watching the 250th anniversary of your military. Mate, you should be very, very proud, and your family should be very proud. Best small channel in the world. Thank you very much, Dan. Thank you very much. Well said, Dan, says Jen. Thank you, Jen. Master Sergeant right there. Thank you. Okay, here's some of the things that I believe should be occurring at the moment in the USA or even Australia. Now, one of the things that you're going to be doing when you join the military is that you're going to be doing low-level operations. Now, these can occur as part of a humanitarian effort, even in your own country, which is something like assisting in flood assist. Because, I hate to tell you, you're going to meet a lot of assholes when you're doing cleanup. Or all of a sudden, I want you to come here and do this for me right now. Do it for you, not to help you. So sometimes when we help people, they don't even assist you, and it seems like you're met with contempt, and I don't understand it. So that can turn ugly as well, because I still believe that every soldier has the right, even in uniform, treat me the way you want to be treated back. If you want to lift your hands or you want to throw shit at a soldier, boom, let the section go and see how you go on 8-on-1. That's what I reckon. But the two ways that you make a bad guy submit is through violence, rapid violence, and also with taking the money away. We know that our police are doing that at the moment. I've never seen so many tolls. I've never seen so many overboard fines that are happening. Nearly $1,000 sometimes for a parking fine, for a speeding fine, or the fine for not having a seatbelt on off a police officer sitting on a motorbike driving between traffic with no seatbelt on himself. You can't figure this shit out. Anyway, I believe that if you throw something at a police car and destroy it, I believe that a police car is a vital asset for the community. It is there to come and help you on your worst day when an assailant has done something to you. If someone burns that car, they've stopped that car by being able to react to your plight. Therefore, it is a vital asset, just as the dog is, just as the police officer is. So it should be an extension of that, and so should the police force, so the police precinct building. So if you damage that vehicle, they should be able to use lethal force, to be able to prevent you from doing so as a vital asset piece of equipment for mission essential requirement. Or at worst, come over and go, just so you know, hippie, the cost of a brand new police vehicle with its semi-automatic weapon systems inside it with its crypto radio equipment, and its security systems, and the fit out that it's had has a value of $287,000. If you destroy that vehicle, you are getting a check for $287,000. And you're going to jail as well, and you can pay that off with $1.87 that you're getting per day working in the cafeteria. So basically you're not coming home. If you go to hurt a police officer, spit on a police officer, especially during these times of the 19, etc., then you should be treated the way you should be, and that should be apprehended quickly, and you should be put into the clink and drag that system out. Now, I don't believe in having a police state, but I do believe that there should be rapid deployment of punishment for people, and I do believe that we absolutely need the death penalty brought back, and it should be fast. When I saw the USA on my own, I got invited everywhere. Everyone was so friendly, absolutely. We're not even allowed to defend ourselves in Australia, not even able to defend ourselves. In the USA, you can have pepper spray, okay? You can have stand your ground. You can, the castle law, you can have open carry, right? You can have weapons in your area, in your house, that you can say, I've got that for home protection. If you say that anywhere in Australia, they're taking your safe and taking your weapons, and you're probably going to get fined as well. It's out of control. A woman can't even have pepper spray in Australia. That's a travesty. Tell me why, Albanese, the guy that's never achieved anything other than becoming the Prime Minister, of course, probably paid for by the red corn chip, and he's surrounded by people with weapons. But you're not allowed to. Your family's not allowed to. Sorry. And we'll even tax you while he doesn't get taxed himself. Cooper, I'm doing my year 10. I'm having plenty of time and hopefully be able to ace my pre-enlistment test. Take your time, do it properly. Get in, never get out. The grass is not greener. Well, it is, but only on grave sites. Billy Joel. I live in Melbourne, saw that in real time on the streets through COVID. Absolutely. It was a national disgrace. Rexy, if we can't have home defences, we require a stable and feared police force. That's an excellent statement. I love our cops, but we need to let them off the leash. They need to be protected so they can protect the public. Absolutely. Bring it up the rear, he gets a thumb in the clacker. We've got Wanham. Anybody seen the miniguns the cartel has? Just seen a shot with Mike Glover talking about it. Don't be scared of the cartels, except when they're in the USA. The cartels in actual Mexico itself and South America, you're not going to go and land your guys on the ground. You're not going to take ground. You'd go there at night on a public holiday at a fiesta, which is a party for those that don't know fluent Spanish, like Kaz, uno, dos, then you've got to understand that it will be done from afar. Thermal imagery, aviation, bam, hit the target, take them out. No cameras other than to the Ministry of Defence, right, and security, and other than that, they just disappear. They should get 50 cards with the 50 biggest players on it, and just say, I'll give $1 million and a new identity to anyone that leads to the capture of one of these 50 cards, and then watch as the paranoia sets in. They'll get rid of themselves. Steve-O, do you reckon Aussies should have mandatory military service after high school, the South Korea or Switzerland has, and also Israel? Yes, I do, Stevie Science, but not if they're... Okay, maybe even if they're going to go and do STEM at university. And the reason is you become the very best version of yourself. And everyone that I've met that has done... mandatory military service, not the draft as such, because that's for an actual deployment, preparing for that, but for national service. It's not just infantry. It's not for combat corps necessarily. It's all about finding the best version of yourself so you become a law-abiding, citizen that is there to contribute to your village. It just so happens our village has got 27 million people in it, with a few more. So yes, I do believe that. And of all of the people that I know that were doing national service across the spectrum of roles and opportunities that they had, every single one of them, it made them a better person, you know, and they were some of the happiest people, because one of the things that's happening in today's society is an epidemic of loneliness, you know, of lies, of participation prizes. That doesn't happen in national service. You get told when you're wrong. You get spoon-fed information, and then it speeds up until it's a goddamn fire hose. You know, and then at the end of it, the option to, okay, do you want to sign on? This can be now your stable career. Okay, let's do that. A lot of people that went to Vietnam came back and didn't want to discharge. You know, wanted to stay in. Yep. A lot of people don't have fathers. It's a fantastic way to give them a scaffolding of codes of conduct. You know, good mateship, friendship, standing, mission, you know, and self-respect. Some guy had a homemade spear. Yeah, we saw today some ordnance get fired and hit a horse in the face too. A police on a horse. It was disgusting. Cooper Struck, did you see that dude who got basically tortured in the Melbourne barracks? Forgot which one it was called, but was really bad. Yeah, I did see that. I believe he was in Signals, Cooper. You know, but they all got really screwed over for that, because that becomes a criminal offence. Yeah. Dale, Kaz, can you see this sort of thing happening in Australia soon? I sort of can, but we've been completely nullified. You know, even if something came up that was worth fighting against a tyrannical government or system we didn't agree with, such as what happened with having the vaccinations, which I don't think I've ever recovered from, to tell you the truth. You know, I believed it until I didn't believe it, but then we were compelled and forced, you know, by the law of the gun, you know, to do exactly what we were told by being a disarmed society. I believe weapons need to come back, especially for those that are actually well trained in long guns, etc. So that becomes a deterrent to scumbags on the street, to potential unsavoury immigrants that have come in for the wrong goddamn reason. Hey, Lighty, thank you very much for that, mate. Thank you very much. That'll go towards some Bitcoin, because I reckon Bitcoin and Tesla are the two big ones. Thank you very much, mate. Okay, you made my night with the cops' speech. The mine vehicles are a minimum $25,000 for conversion, and if we ever become a nanny state, I move to America. There you go. Make sure you move to Thailand for a little while before that, because for peace, there's nothing like being around Buddhists. We're going to listen to this speech again, because I think it's important that people do check this out. Then what we're going to do is go into a few other things. For those that don't know, Israel has also just hit Iran. That happened last night. We had the horrible, God bless them, the 242 plus the 12 people on board and some on the ground that just lost their lives in the Indian plane crash. You know, that was horrific. We've got the shit going down in the Ukraine, which is breaking my heart. You know, we've got Russia that's falling apart from the bottom up as they lose their laborious class. We've got Xi Jinping that doesn't get seen anymore in a what do you call it, an official standing. So, man, there's a lot of shit going down. There's a lot of shit. Wait a minute. Mate, even my preparing for my enlistment date has made me a better person. I love that. Can't agree with you more, my bro. Many people support me, and just as many people give me grief. Don't worry about the people that give you grief, mate. Look down below. We've got Navy veteran who's now in the Army. I've got to change your name soon, my brother. G'day, mate. He's in a lot hotter climate than what I'm in right now. How's it going in a score, Navy veteran, from 1 to 10, 1 being worst, 10 being the absolute best? Where are you at the moment mindset-wise? Okay? What are you thinking about where you are? Brady, what's the going rate for these noddies standing up in the back? If it pays well, it's something I would consider as a side hustle. Absolutely. You know, I would say that they're all sub-sheriffs around the area, because if you have a look at their arms, they've all got massive amounts of, what would you call it, seniority stripes that you can see there on the guy's left arm. That's what they're for. And I think they should come to the Australian uniform. you should have bars that come there for every 3 years. You know, okay, every 4 years. Let's not get ridiculous like some of these are with 20-something bars or whatever. Let's have it so every 4 years there's a bar. Yeah, and after 20 years they start to turn red or something like that. So people know that they're dealing with someone who's got seniority in the ranks. And that can go both ways. One, respect, or two, you should have known better. Look at your seniority. The Sherriff is a real leader. He is. 8 out of 10, loving it up here, absolutely. Well, great to hear, Navy veteran. Great base, loving working with the Army. Fantastic to hear. You know, because the other day I was nervous, mate. I was thinking, please let this work for this handsome young man. Let's go back to the start of this one again. It doesn't take long. This is what I think that we need in Australia.
But don't you dare break the law, because it won't go well. Share their opinions. That's what our country is all about. The key word in that is peaceful. And if it's peaceful, us in law enforcement are going to make sure you have a safe environment to do it in. That's part of that process. If you let it turn violent, whoo, you do not want to do that in Brevard County. I'm going to tell you that, and I believe I can speak for my fellow sheriffs around the rest of the state. You don't want to let it happen. And just so there's no confusion.
Hey team, hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber yet, and you'll see, bam, your name will come up on the screen as well. You know, because we want to be able to introduce you, and we want you to be part of the conversation. And I'll tell you what's about to happen with Patreon too.
Because I don't want to hear any whining later saying we didn't know. I'm going to break it down for you. All right? Because as you watch these riots unfold across the rest of the country, what you are seeing is buildings being burned down, police cars being bricked, having explosive devices thrown on them, having fire, guns pointed at them.
Just remember too, those vehicles that are getting fire bombs thrown on them, not only are they owned by the public, paid for by the public, taxpayers, but they have weapons inside them. When you actually break the security of that vehicle by the destruction of that trunk, that weapon is now available to be used back on the taxpayers it's there to protect.
Bricks thrown at them, all and on. So I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at.
I love that
because
bit.
we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs. You're seeing.
Okay. Is there anyone? Wait 2 seconds. Sorry. Is there anyone that actually, we won't attack you for it, that supports illegal immigrants being in a country? Is there people who is confused? Is there people that just don't know what it means? Does everyone realise it's actual terrorism, violence, you know, for political means? And where are we? Where's a good one?
Los Angeles' City of Angels now on fire. The scene of the first major reckoning of President Trump's second term.
The bit that triggers me the most is watching someone from a foreign country who should be nothing more than appreciative, holding a foreign flag on your country's soil and then disrespecting it. Man, there's only one thing that fixes that quickly, and that's a goddamn German Shepherd. Send that meat missile in. It's hard to hear because we have an ocean right, yeah, but we also have fantastic immigration rules and laws where they go to Nauru and the other islands if they come illegally and get caught.
3 days of protests as people march against the government's policies on immigration. Increasingly violent scenes with both sides blaming the other. The White House accused protesters of using violent tactics. Critics said Trump's shocking deployment of the National Guard blaming the other. The White House accused protesters of using violent tactics. Critics said Trump's shocking deployment of the National Guard is simply because he wants to create chaos and division.
Y'all told us to come here for opportunity. We came, and then now it's like, oh, you have to.
This butch bitch is going to get the opportunity, you know, to eat prison food now. Hopefully she ends up in San Salvador. Guys, in case you don't know, you will get trained in this, especially if you're going to combat corps or engineers, you know, how to use DAT, defence assistance, you know, and also low-level operations, assisting the local populace, riot control, etc. You know, the problem and the difference between soldiers and police. I think police are a little bit more disciplined or scared. I don't know which one it is. When army, when we've got the batons, man, you feel it. You feel it inside. You start to get excited. You start to get the foaming mouth. You just look at someone like they're the enemy, you know, and you're like, please do something wrong. I remember we had a section, you know, and I had some big boys in my section, and their names are on the back of their helmets. So if you're the protester who's being an agitator, being a dickhead, you know, even though they were soldiers that were playing the part that came from support units, it didn't end well. Basically what ended up happening was you go across and you just, because they can't hear you talking because you're speaking below your helmet, your flak jackets, all that sort of crap, shields. And when the names are on the back of the helmets, you know who they are. And if you tap them on the back 2 or 3 times, whatever the signal is, bam, 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 no one sees that occur. And they've now been told the target indication, who the person is they're going after, got long hair, red shirt, ready, and then I just get to walk away, and when it's time, go. And they will beeline for that one person, and what you do is you choke the chicken, okay, to teach the monkey. Yep, you go really hard on someone, really hard, and then everyone else learns.
Leave. But when I was the working class, y'all loved me, right? But now that we're too many people, what's the issue?
With pockets of demonstrations flaring up over the weekend and incidents of clashes between protesters and police, Trump called in members of California's National Guard. But protesters believe their presence.
But remember, the National Guard was also brought in because Gavin Newsom, you know, and others within the cabinet were telling their municipal police force to not assist with the immigration crackdown. So he was, so the police weren't turning up to areas. So he called in the National Guard, and they didn't have a problem with that when they went in to help with the fires. This time they're starting the fires and complaining. It's people like this that make the good ones' lives so much worse. Holidays and business trips must be so much harder now. It angers me how selfish and evil it simply is. Absolutely. Bring up the rear. Did national service back in the Singapore Navy. Well done, sir. Migrated in 09, and you're very welcome. Legal immigrants keep our country going. We need them. Okay. Spent a couple of years working, attained citizenship, and still working and paying taxes. Well done, mate. None of this flag burning bullshit's disgusting. Awesome. I love it. It must be so hard for you bringing up the rear, Singaporean, when you see how dirty some places are in Australia, the land of the free, when Singapore is spotless and the people so respectful. There's no reason why Australia should have any litter other than the bin chickens taking it out. Yoshi. Hey, Kaz, it's Josh, the 14-year-old that came onto your stream the other week in the chat. You recommended listening to your podcast on Zero Limits with your episode. It was great. Rwanda must have been hard. It's a lot harder now for me than what it was then, Josh, because now I'm a father. Now it makes more sense. Back then, I just want to be part of the adventure. Every trip you go on, you will bring something home with you. You know, a part of another culture that has every reason in some ways to be despised. I can absolutely understand where not specific racism to one colour, but specific cultures can absolutely, be tarnished in your eyes forever as a monolith, as a whole group. When you see in Rwanda some lovely, lovely people, but when you see the Hutus have conducted a genocide against the Tutsis, and then the Tutsis turned around and did it back to them, you're going, who's the goddamn victim here? And now we're seeing they're attacking people, out of northwestern Rwanda. Yeah. It's really sad. It's like Afghanistan, protecting people against the Taliban while the people you're protecting are doing atrocities to children. Yeah. Who's the good guy? No country for bad men. Bam.
Use of tear gas and flashbang grenades is only inflaming a tense situation, with an Australian reporter struck by a rubber bullet while covering the demonstration.
I loved it when she got hit. I'll show you something, what she may not understand. And I watched this part of the program. She was very biased. She was talking about the aggression of the police, etc., but she wasn't bringing up the fact that this was about illegal immigration. This is Australian mainstream media. When you turn your back with the police behind you, this is a metric you may not understand. When a journalist has you behind them, you are the fucking story. They're talking bad about you. When she turns around and has her back to the rioters, then she's talking about them. So these police would have seen her and known potentially that she is a biased journalist, and I'm sure one of them was being a little bit bloody cheeky. Now, it's one thing when I see a lady like this, she looks a little bit like my daughter, so I do instantly feel some sympathy. But I tell you now, if that had been Carl Stefanovic, we would have been pissing ourselves laughing, and the footy show would have been doing a slow motion clip of his face when he got hit. It would have been completely different based on gender. She's got a story. She wanted to get between the two warring crowds, and she got, she copped some. But it's okay. She's going to be fine, and I wish her well. But be honest with your journalistic and understand there would be no reason for the cops to be there. There would be no reason for soldiers to be there if there wasn't people with Mexican flags, right, burning things and risking the lives of others.
While covering the demonstration.
That would hurt too.
You okay?
Protesters took over and stopped traffic on the 101 freeway, with some throwing objects at officers who had to take cover. With cars set alight later on, Trump and...
You throw a brick at a police officer, how is that not attempted murder? If you were walking down the street right now, we'll use Yoshi there for example, Josh, and you had a brick when you weren't part of a demonstration, when you weren't part of a crowd, when is it ever okay to get half a brick and go over and just throw it at a police officer? If you hit him in the head, you could kill him. It's attempted murder. It's out of control. Ibis, Kaz, it's all good to ask ADF-related questions right now, or should I wait for a different stream? No, mate, no, you do so. It's always good to ask a question because everything can then move into some sort of segue, okay? I'm just having a look at what this message is here. My little girl is having one of her gym sessions, doing a bent over row. Great for posture. Very proud of her. Stevie Science, wasn't she the one that crossed a safe line and set by the police for the journalist. She went to the front line and expected not to cop it. I don't know, man. But that sounds like it makes sense. Dan, you see how clear the guys with the cameras got to the police? Did you see how close the guys with the cameras get to the police? Surely a hazard. You would think so.
His supporters said this warranted his actions, with some claiming that because people were waving the Mexican flag, that Los Angeles was now, quote, occupied territory. Trump was asked about the weekend's protests on Sunday.
We're going to be watching it very closely. And when they spit at people, you know, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody.
For those that don't know, if you were young or you were female, you know, and you're watching this now, it is in man code that is never really explained to you, although I'm explaining it right now. You spit on someone, you fucking bust their lip. You smack them in the mouth or you bust their nose. They'll never spit again. It is the biggest insult that you can do, and it is something that you can do in an inflammatory way. If someone wants to really get you to either be a pussy, you know, or make sure you fight, spitting on you is the way to do it. This is why it is such a cruel thing for a woman to do when she spits on a man, and you see it all the time these days, because the man cannot hit her back. But if it was a bloke, she'd be getting a little bit of Ted Bundy. Right. Honky donkey hearing is pretty strict, man. It is pretty strict. But again, who knows, man? Go in, do the test. If there's no issue, there's no issue. There is a booth, and you do feel like a weirdo when you're in it. Boozer says, "G'day, Kaz. Hope all is well." It is, Boozer, and I hope everything is well for you. At the moment, me back end is a little bit juicy. The Crohn's disease is not doing well. Steve, hearing test is pretty easy. Don't stress. Did mine 2 months ago, and you'd be pretty deaf to fail. Yeah, some people do have a problem with their hearing. That's a problem with industrial deafness, etc. Ozan and hey, Kaz, got told my foot fracture is healed, but the doctor at the School of Infantry told me my scans show I now have a stress fracture in both shins. That's called shin splints, and potentially a hip injury. Might have to go to TRW now. Frustrating. Is that still down in Sydney? You're going to have to let us know, Ozianen. And I might have to go and do a mercy trip. Bring me a kebab. Mate, it is important to take a backward step and get healed up with that shit. Otherwise, it can be a drama forever. You know, let's have a conversation real soon. And let's get to the bottom of this one, mate. PJ, no, bro, the hearing test was hard. I did it yesterday. It can be weird. You know, it can be confusing at times. You can hear the phantom, the buzzer. But if you've got poor hearing and it goes as you get older, that's a thing. Lottie says, haven't you played Capture the Flag? Once you wave the flag, the territory belongs to you. Worked with for the Romans. I like that. Ibis, is RMC Duntroon worth it? If I can make it, if there I would general entry be better for actual work, say for infantry, combat engineering, armour. It's better off going general entry officer. Well, the thing is, Ibis, you don't get to choose what corps you go to if you go to an officer. They will choose your corps for you. If you go into enlisted at the moment, you will normally get to choose your corps. Boozer says, I hope it gets well down there. I'm doing quite well. Well, that's good to know, mate, because I wish well for all of you. Yeah, Kaz, TAW is still at Holsworthy Barracks. I was one of the NCOs looking after it at one stage. And if the soldiers fucked around in the high ace, the window would be pushed open, and they'd be in PT gear in winter, you know, with the windows open. I'd be freezing too, but it was worth it to give a pain penalty for mucking around.
Nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
It was on Friday that
Absolutely.
people began to protest after immigration raids in parts of LA, with people put in unmarked vehicles and then driven away in convoys, with military protection also on hand. Crowds began to form and some people tried to stop the vehicles. Protesters marched.
All the guns. We know they have all the guns. We gotta.
Come
This
Sunday,
chick
the crowds
is an
outside were now
absolute
larger,
moron.
the line of troops and officers bigger too.
They have all the guns. We know they have all the guns. We gotta let people know that we have a right to speak up. We're supposedly in a democracy.
You don't have the right to support illegal immigration. You don't have that right. It's a crime. Let's have a look at, for 2 seconds, if in case you don't do any research on this stuff, team, these guys are in real danger. You know, by non-law-abiding civilians who are aiding and abetting. This guy's a fantastic channel. Cash Jordan, absolutely amazing. Righto.
New videos of arrests at the San Diego federal courthouse. Volunteers say ICE agents are handcuffing migrants and taking them away, even when their cases are still ongoing. Good evening and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Marcella Lee. CBS 8 obtained.
That's because you're not entitled to due process when you're already here illegally. That's one of the things, team. Now, immigration, I get it. The line is really, really long. But they should actually be saving their anger for Kamala Harris and also for Joe Biden. Kamala Harris was made the border czar and she did nothing. I don't even believe she turned up there, and more than 12 million people funneled into the country. There has been countless deaths due to the hands of immigrants, illegal immigrants in the USA. You know, one of the worst ones was Kate Steinle. Now, she was a beautiful woman, an absolutely beautiful lass. And she was walking on a promenade with her father. And she was really stunning, to tell you the truth. And she was having that time with her dad. And they heard like a Santa Monica sort of pier sort of thing. And a shot rang out. And they just thought it was a firecracker. And she turned and grabbed her father and held his arm and said, "Help me, Daddy." And that was the last thing she ever said before she died in his arms. And the piece of shit, you know, had stolen the weapon from a police vehicle, you know, or a security vehicle. And he'd used that and then claimed that he'd actually found the pistol and it was a negligent discharge. And he was an illegal immigrant and he got away with it. Absolutely made me sick.
Multiple videos that appear to show arrests in hallways following immigration hearings. Steve Price joins us live from the federal courthouse downtown with reaction from Homeland Security and a local immigration attorney. Steve?
Marcella, as you can imagine, they have two very different opinions on.
Okay, that one's a little bit boring. What do we got? There's crazy ones where they turn up to work sites. And basically, it's the whole thing. They just sprint, you know. And illegals out of factory. This could be one. This goes for 1 minute.
Let's go. El 19 en la ciudad. El 16.
You'll get used to zip ties in the army too, so.
¿Cuál es el que la niña en la ciudad? I guess the 6-year-old.
Chris, how's your little girl going, mate? This is 1 week out of Kapuka now. She's about to get a weekend to herself. The first one in forever. So team, what should happen, do you believe, to someone who employs under the table illegal immigrants and then underpays them, doesn't give them insurance, doesn't give them medical or any of that? What sort of criminality do you think they're defending themselves against when they try to assist with illegal immigration raids? It's out of control. You know, if you don't have, you know, law and order, you don't have a country. And something I heard today that really, really made sense to me, I think it was Charlie Kirk said, that you can have closed borders like Australia and have welfare state. We've got that. But you cannot have open borders and you can't have open borders and welfare, but you can have closed borders and welfare. I'm sorry. So you can have open borders, but you can't have welfare at the same time, or you'll go under. Yeah. There's a lot of places in the blue states where when an immigrant turns up, they're not asked for their certain papers and the taxpayer pays for their medical bills without identification. Yeah, I do feel for them. I really do. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these people are trying to make life good for their family. But then when you find out some of them have got a rap sheet, you know, as long as they're armed and they're over here and they've been kicked out of here a bunch of times before and they're violent, and now seeing them with flags in their hands, you know, while burning the American flag, that sort of tells you what you're inviting into your country. You don't want that. G'day, Joshy Fawns. You were the first to comment tonight as well. We've hit the hour and 6 minute mark, team. Chris says she's been assisting with military police training and working the weekend, but loving it. Okay, so what's happening there, Chris, you've probably had it explained to you and you know it yourself, is that she is now considered a all-purpose Australian soldier, a coreless soldier. You know, I wish apples came without a core. So what is occurring with her is she can be used for any or all tasks. Just like if you join infantry and you go to Gallipoli platoon and there's 100 of you there, 150 of you there. If you're there, throw a thumbs up now so I know you're in the chat. And you can be used for enemy parties. You can be doing PT sessions. You can be used for range, sentry duty. You can be used for dog squad. You can be used for assistance on courses. But you just cannot be taught anything until it has been taught to you in a in a formal manner. You know, with training objectives, etc., standards, and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot happening on farms in Queensland. I'm not sure about that. Yeah. So basically, we can just keep watching, find out what's going on. We see what happens now when you are strong. Okay, the bad guy chooses to go to another property. So if you picture Florida, you know, is just another house in the street. They've got a German Shepherd. They don't get touched by the scumbag. He keeps going until he finds a California house that he can go in there and you'll even give him some fucking garlic bread while he's playing your Xbox on your save game. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm not trying to be an arsehole team, but we love our country, you know. And walls are there for a reason. Law and order. I was talking to a fitter today. He looks after the conveyors. I think if I join the army, I won't go back to the mine, but I don't know if they do trades in reserves. I'm not sure. We'll have a conversation. We'll get to the bottom of that one together. There, Lighty, for anyone there that's not there, boom, waiting for you. Don't go and think about joining later. Join as soon as you can. Let's have a conversation. It's about to be the weekend, and it'll be my pleasure. Mustang Mac. Hey, Kaz, do you think infantry soldiers should go straight to Singleton for infantry training? I found Kapuka at most a waste of time. I do believe, Mustang Mac, I do believe you're right. And I've had a lot of conversations about that. Should we be taught by infantry instructors for Kapuka and for the School of Infantry so that the standard is there from the start? If we're going to have a separate standard to the rest of the army, then we should be getting that standard from the very start. I'll tell you something else. The last posting I had as an instructor at the School of Infantry, there was a push-up club that was expected to be done by the people at Kapuka that was direction that was given by the School of Infantry. Now, I don't know if that's happening anymore, but it should be. Excited for PFA next Thursday. Cheers, Kaz, for the preparation advice. Mate, MMA, there you go. It's going to be a piece of cake to you. Don't not quit. Don't just do the bare minimum. You know, let them know your name, MMA. Get in there, go as hard as you can. No worries, Lottie. No worries. Let's get out of here. You can go and play your Xbox now. I'm hoping to get some videos out over the next couple of days. Some short videos for you. I hope you enjoy. I've heard Singo is basically unfricking everything at Kapuka. Nah, not so much. Look, you don't want to go to Singo to learn how to march, how to salute the origins of the army. You want to get there, hit the ground, and straight away have weapons in your hand, some gun oil on your fingers, maybe a cracked bloody toenail or thumbnail. Go down and try to see Matty Morris like a celebrity down at Honeysuckle Hotel. Go and see some other guys' wives, but not touch them. Eat some great food. Look at the ocean. Beautiful. You're going to love it. Aussie says, most annoying thing, Kaz, about the new injuries is the rehab consultant told me I should consider a core transfer out of infantry. I politely told her to F off as I've been infantry 7 years already. It is a tough one, but also remember, Aussie, sometimes they're trying to protect you from yourself and your ambition. Remember, I was in the military for 24 years. When I got a yellow envelope that said your anus is broken, you got to go. Okay, so let's have another conversation on that, Aussie, soon, and see what we can come up with. You know, skin this cat together. For all of those across the world, think before you act. Don't let peer pressure talk you into standing on a ground that you shouldn't be defending, like illegal immigration. It'll only come back to bite you. And it's coming back to bite the people right now. You know, promises made, promises kept. Donald Trump said it. You know, whether you like him or not, he's making the nation safer. But sometimes you've got to go backwards before you can go forwards. Take it easy, team. I wish you well and look after your family. Thank you. I hope it was a subject that you found interesting as well. See you later, guys. Have a good weekend. Jenny, see you later.